Welcome to another edition, a special edition of Mark Bell's Power Project today. Today we're going to be answering the question of how to stay on plan, stay on point with your diet when you're away from home. I'm in New York City right now, and maybe you're hearing the background street vendors and street noises of New York City. I'm in Manhattan, and it's pretty crazy. Almost got run over just now, cruising by a hot dog stand and a bunch of crazy stores. There's Prada, there's Gucci, there's Rolex, every single high-end fashion thing in the world is packed right in here in Manhattan on Fifth Avenue in New York City. So this is where I'm vacationing with my family. I'm gone from the house for 10 days. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I stick to my plan even when away from home. Then my boy Nsima is going to smash that question too. And then, as always, Andrew Z is going to take us on home. So first things first, before I ever even got out here, I already set a plan in place to get Piedmontese steaks ordered right to my front door in New Jersey, and they arrive on Saturday, right when I arrive. And so I'll be able to grab a hold of them and put them right in the freezer, and I should be stocked up well enough with meat. Very lean cuts of meat. You guys know Piedmontese, only the best. Those lean cuts of meat that only Piedmontese has, because the certain kinds of cattle that they raise are much leaner than the regular ribeye steaks and regular other cuts that you get at the store. Piedmontese comes in at about half the amount of grams of fat. So honestly, that's the first thing that I did. Second thing that I did is, when traveling through the airport, I'm always in search of protein. Some people might not be able to afford the convenience of grabbing things at the airport, and you may want to pre-plan and prepare even before you get to the airport, because the airport can be ridiculously expensive. But in the airport, a lot of times there's options for cottage cheese, yogurt, cheese sticks, forms of cured meat, sometimes vegetables. I was munching on a snack called O-Snap on the plane. It's just some pickles, basically. I come in a bag. I got those at the airport. I ate like 2 bags of them. Each bag only has 15 calories. In addition to that, I also brought with me carnivore crisps. Carnivore crisps, they only have salt and meat, the only 2 ingredients in them. And it's kind of almost like a drier, snappier version of beef jerky. Crispy though. So I shouldn't have said drier. It's not really dry, because it has like fat on it. Tastes really, really good. I really like them a lot. Those are called carnivore crisps. And they have elk, they have pork, they have ribeye. Shit, they got so many different kinds. I have round is really good. Top sirloin. They make a chicken breast one. All that shit is really dope. High in protein. It's primarily just protein. And when I travel, that's my main focus, is just getting in protein. Really, really stuffing in protein. I don't worry too much about fasting while I'm actually on the go, because I tend to want to munch on stuff while I'm watching stuff on the plane, or even while I'm listening to podcasts or trying to learn more shit. I really enjoy the process of, kind of learning and consuming something at the same time, which is a great thing to coach yourself out of. But when I'm on the plane, I find myself kind of restless. And maybe I'm nervous. Maybe there's some anxiety there or something. And so I just like to chew on stuff. Chewing on something or drinking on something. Anyway, in addition to that, I also brought with me some Piedmontese biltong. Biltong is kind of like beef jerky. Munched on some of that. Back to the airport again. A lot of times at the airport too, you'll find hard-boiled eggs. I really like hard-boiled eggs a lot, so I grab them whenever I can, and I consume them. I don't really like the yolks a ton, so I usually only eat kind of just parts of the yolk, but I mainly eat the whites with salt on them. And that's just, again, protein leveraging me. Again, if you remember from previous episodes of this podcast, I don't really view protein as much of an energy source. Our energy sources are fat and carbohydrates. And on days where I feel like I'm not going to do a lot, on days where I feel like I'm not going to rigorously get after it, I'll consume low amounts of energy, meaning low amounts of fat and meaning low amounts of carbohydrates, and sometimes, in many cases, no carbohydrates, and in some cases, not even any food, because in some cases, I'll just fast for the whole day. It just kind of depends on what the day is looking for me, but I don't normally fast when I'm traveling. I will, however, utilize intermittent fasting. And that's be a strategy that I'm going to employ tomorrow. And I always like to set forth intermittent fasting with setting it up so that I'm thinking about the day and what's planned and what's scheduled. And depending on what's scheduled when, I just usually say, okay, once we get to that, or once that happens, that's when I'm going to break my fast. So tomorrow we're going from New York City to the Jersey Shore. And I'm just going to fast until we get to the Jersey Shore. It's not going to be that difficult. I mean, I might miss out on some breakfast or something, but... and if I really feel like eating, I'll probably just say F it, and I probably will eat. But I most likely will just fast until I get to New Jersey. Then once I'm in New Jersey, I'll cook up Piedmontese, or I'll do whatever I need to do once I get there. Most of my dieting just stays the same regardless of where I am. I travel with my diet. I don't prep meals. I do not prep meals. I do pre-plan, but I don't prep meals. So what I mean by pre-plan, I might grab something out of my freezer here and there and thaw it out for a few hours and then cook it. So I'll pre-plan and I'll be prepared, but I don't usually pre-make my meals. My diet is extremely portable and my diet is extremely flexible. If I'm going to put out a lot, can I get a hey now? Put out. If I'm going to put out a lot, I'm going to give myself a good amount. So, example for tonight, we are going to sushi. And so right away, my wife said, hey, let's go to sushi tonight. And it's going to be late o'clock. It's going to be at like 10 o'clock at night. I thought to myself, oh, tomorrow I'll get in some lifting. Now, I got in a little bit of lifting today, but today's lifting was kind of chump change. We walked about 8 miles for today. And so I took it easy on the lifting part of it. But because I'm going to be loading up on a little bit of carbohydrate tonight from the sushi rolls and the various forms of sushi I'm going to get, I'm going to bring it tomorrow when I train in the gym. And most hotels have gyms in them. And, you know, pretty much everywhere you go in the country, there'll be some sort of gym access somewhere. Even if you got an Airbnb, there's always options on some type of training. And so I got some training in today. I did some dumbbell squats and a little bit of dumbbell pressing, and I did some seated rows on a machine. But tomorrow I'll put a little bit more into it, get a couple more sets in, a couple more reps in, and use up that glucose that I'm going to have tonight from the sushi. But quite simply, the diet is so portable and so versatile because I normally have anywhere between 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of my body weight. And sometimes it might even be way more than that. I might even double up on protein. If I'm hungry, I'll double up on it. So I think it's a misconception people have about myself is that I do utilize a lot of fasting. And so I think people think that I must be hungry all the time. And I do get hungry, but I've learned to control my hunger That's the whole reason why I chose to do fasting in the first place, was because I know that it could help control my hunger and help control my cravings. Over a period of time, after doing it for a while and consuming a lot of protein, getting that kind of protein leveraging, protein being the most satiating food, and also fat being satiating and satisfying, when I start to combine the two and I start to eat like that, it really makes a big difference, and it pushes off my hunger. It allows me to get freedom, or gives me liberation away from food. And this is something that you guys might want to try, because I think people are like, I can't do a low carb diet. But don't focus on the low carbs. Focus on the fact that you get to eat tons of protein. And don't just do it through protein shakes. I don't think that works. Now, I do have 2 steak shakes just about every day. But that still doesn't represent the largest percentage of my protein for the day. That might give me 80 to 100 grams of protein a day from that source. There's another 200-300 coming from just food sources. The other thing is too, when you fast, don't think about how many hours you're fasting. Think about how much you get to eat when the fast is over. And think about how you get pretty full. I will warn you of one thing when it comes to intermittent fasting. Something I noticed is that if you stuff yourself, I think it's a mistake. In other countries, and many times when there's been famine, people would just satisfy their hunger when they ate. They would just eat until they were no longer hungry, rather than eating until you're stuffed. So that might be something that you want to practice. And if you're practicing that, especially when you're traveling and you're not doing too much mindless eating, then I think you'd be in good standing. I'm about to pass the microphone over to my boy Nsima. Before I do so, I want to just kind of finish with, you are on vacation, you are with your family. If you do have an opportunity to enhance a specific moment with everyone, then maybe you do so by having a drink, or maybe you do so by having some cake, or maybe you do so by having some ice cream. But I doubt that your 6-year-old son or daughter, whoever it is, really cares if you have a cupcake. Not only do I think they won't care, I don't even think they'll notice or know if you don't eat it. And also, who's to say that you got to eat the whole thing? You can't just say, hey, happy birthday, and have a bite and go back to eating some of your other planned foods. And another topic for another day probably is to talk to the family about what you're currently doing when people scoff at it or have questions about it, how what you're currently doing would be wise for everyone to do, because it's my belief, and I'm on a fucking mission. I really do want to make the world a better place to live, and it's going to start by knocking out one weakness at a time out of people. And the number one weakness that people have is towards their food, in the United States anyway, in my opinion. People are controlled by their food. Food rules everything around us. It really, really does. And the more that people can work on understanding they're going to be okay when they don't eat those carbohydrates, they're still going to have great workouts. You're going to be okay when you fast away from food for a bit. It's going to be healthy for you. Just like it might be healthy for you to fast away from social media from time to time. It might be useful for you to fast away from that toxic person in your life. And when you go back to dealing with that person again, you might be able to have a better interpretation of how they are involved in your life. Same thing with your relationship to your foods. Maybe we should put that motherfucker on pause for a while. Right? I got a bad relationship with food. Well, stop calling it up in the middle of the night. Stop booty calling your fucking food. Give it a break. Give it a beat. Give it a minute. Because right now, you're not thinking sensibly about it. You just go on vacation and gain 10 pounds. And go on another vacation and gain 10 pounds. Then a holiday comes and you gain 5 pounds. Thanksgiving, Christmas, every single year. I think I saw a stat that men gain 5 to 6 pounds every single year, and it starts in October. Once Halloween hits, then there's Thanksgiving, and then there's Christmas, and then there's New Year's. And people really fall off. Look how bad people falling off because of COVID. Because of COVID, right? They didn't really fall off because of COVID. They fell off because they're weak. I didn't fall off during that time period because I built a structure that was sound enough and strong enough, and I had an understanding of what it meant for me. I had a healthier relationship with myself, with my thoughts, and with the things that I think about food. And you can develop that too. You can have it all. You can have a 6-pack, and you can have 6 figures in the bank. It's on you, bro. That's on you. You can figure it out. I'm a fucking dumb fat kid from Poughkeepsie. A dumb fat kid from Poughkeepsie. I figured both things out. I know that you guys can too. I'm going to pass the mic over to my boy Nsima. Those are my main tips. I guess lastly, whenever you do travel, you might want to try to travel to somewhere that makes it more convenient for you to operate the way that you want to operate. So what I mean by that is it might be better or more wise for you to get an Airbnb or some sort of housing situation that allows you to cook, or at least has like a fridge and a microwave. This way you can buy goods, bring them into the house, things that are healthy and nutritious for you and your family, and you can cook them up so you don't have to eat out every single meal, and you can make better decisions. Even if you have minor, like snacky proteins, yogurt, cottage cheese, hard-boiled eggs, cheese, kind of almost whatever you get your hands on, jerky. Even if you only have those at home or at your hotel or at your Airbnb, that's going to keep you from being less hungry when you go out to eat. 2 things. Hey now. The concrete jungle, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to New York City. A couple last notes here is that almost any restaurant that you go to has meat. So you can get meat, and a lot of times you can get a leanish source of meat. Chicken, steak, pork, things like that. An option that I noticed works really great at restaurants is to get poached eggs. They don't normally have that at places where they serve dinner, but almost every single place that serves breakfast has poached eggs. Poached eggs are delicious. They're quick and easy to eat. High in protein, high in fats, and they're usually not cooked in any sort of oils or anything like that. I had 10 of them this morning with some salmon, and it was absolutely amazing. Eggs are also another option. A lot of diners, a lot of greasy spoon type places, you can get omelets nearly at any place. If need be, to keep the caloric intake down a bit, you could order egg whites. But really keep that protein high while you're traveling. Do the best you can to fight for it. Do your best to war for it. It's worth the fight. It's worth the battle to continue each and every day to take steps towards your goals. Passing it over to my boy Nsima. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Hope you guys love this show. Catch you later.
All right. Thank you, Mark. That was fun. Now, guys, you heard that Mark has some Piedmontese on this trip. If you guys want to take part in some delicioso meat, head to Piedmontese.com. That's Piedmontese.com. And use the code POWERPROJECT at checkout for 25% off of your entire order of some delicious Piedmontese beef. Trust me, you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be so good. You guys are going to love it if you haven't had it already. Now, listen up. I like to keep things pretty simple as far as when I go on trips. And this weekend, I'm going to be taking a short trip to San Jose to have a little bit of fun on the beach. And going to have a little bit of shrooms. We're going to talk about that when I get back, but it should be fun. Anyway, Whenever I like to travel, I typically like to use a fasting method. And I do suggest this for clients that I work with. I do it myself. And in general, the main thing I do is I like to use certain tools to fight off hunger. One of those things is I'm going to bring myself some steak shake. I'm going to bring a protein shake with me, or actually a bottle of the steak shake. And I know that if there's a certain point during the day where I get really hungry, I'm going to have 2 or 3 scoops of that steak shake, okay? Because that'll hold me off until dinner. Usually when I go on mini vacations, or when I do go on vacations, I like to have one big meal, maybe 2. But I like to have one big meal because I know that when I do have that big meal, whether it's in the evening or early afternoon, that I'm going to be able to fill up so much on protein that I probably will be full. But also, since it's only one big meal, it's going to be very hard for me to eat a caloric surplus for one meal. All right, so during the day, I use different tactics to stave off hunger, stave off cravings. One of those big tools is making sure that I get a good night's sleep the night before. You know that we always talk about getting good quality sleep. And if you don't get good sleep, well, your ghrelin, your leptin, all your hunger hormones and your satiety hormones that make sure you're full, those go crazy. So if you don't get good sleep, you're already going to be shooting yourself in the foot as far as being able to fight off those nasty cravings during the day. Now, after my great night of sleep, I'll typically have a bit of coffee or some tea, some type of caffeine during the day, because caffeine is an appetite suppressant. I'll also make sure that I have my electrolytes on deck. If you guys don't already know, go check out Element. They're one of our sponsors. Amazing electrolytes, making sure that I'm hydrated. And if I'm hydrated, that's also going to be an easy cue for me to make sure that I don't mix up those cues of lack of hydration as lack of hunger. A lot of people are going through their day dehydrated and they don't have enough electrolytes in their system, and they instead turn to food, right? But that doesn't end up hydrating them, so they end up eating more and more and more. If you're well hydrated, you'll also be able to fight off hunger better. So I'll also have some Element on deck. Now, I personally like to make sure that whenever I go to a restaurant, and I don't limit the restaurants I go to with the people that I'm with. If they want to go get some sushi, we'll get some sushi. If they want to go to a steakhouse, we'll go to a steakhouse. But I'll make sure that whatever restaurant I go to, I make absolutely sure that I get something that has a lot of protein and a lot of fat on the menu. If it's sushi, well, that's inevitable. I'm going to eat quite a bit of sushi. But if we go somewhere, there's going to usually be a lot of things on the menu that have a decent amount of protein, decent amount of fat. I will avoid mixing high amounts of carbohydrates and fats together because that is a very easy way to have a massive overconsumption of food. It's not just in the presence of carbs or just in the presence of fat, but when you have them mixed together, that's a very simple recipe for things to go haywire and for you to overeat and eat excessive amounts of calories that you don't actually have to eat. Okay. So when I go out, I'll make sure that I get a lot of protein, decent amount of fat. And since it might be one of my only meals of the day, I won't end up being able to eat a caloric surplus even though I eat to my fill. Okay. So this is just a tactic that you can utilize. This is a tactic that I suggest to people that I work with. It's very simple. It's very easy. I like to keep active during the day. So I know on the beach, we're going to be doing a bit of walking. We're going to be having a good amount of activity. And I'm personally going to bring a jump rope with me, so that at a certain point during the day, maybe I can get some jump roping in just because I like to have a little bit of activity. But if you want to, if you have a kettlebell you can bring with you or something, you can always get a decent workout like that if getting a workout in on your vacation is a problem for you. Now, if you're in a hotel or something, you can get an amazing workout with a bunch of hotel dumbbells. All right. I do that all the time when I travel in hotels. I get great workouts with dumbbells. You can just do a lot of supersetting, push-pull supersets, arm supersets, that type of stuff. Feels great, feels amazing. And you'll be able to get a pretty mean workout in while you're on vacay. But these are just things to keep in mind. When you go ahead and do this, make sure that, again, you get good sleep. You have the tools you need to be able to push your appetite during the day. That means you utilize some caffeine, you utilize some electrolytes. Makes it very, very easy. And then, when you go out, be smart about what you eat. It's not like I'm not going to allow myself to have a dessert. I will. If there's something on the menu that looks amazing, I'm going to absolutely allow myself to have some of it, but I'll make sure that I filled up on fat and protein first. And this is going to make sure that when I do have this, I don't need to eat an excessive amount of it. So for example, Cold Stone. If we go to get something at a restaurant, I fill up on some protein and some fat, and I feel full. If we go to Cold Stone, maybe I don't even have a craving for it anymore. But if I do, I'm not going to get the gotta have it size. Maybe I'll get the like it. probably to love it, but maybe I'll get to like it. You never freaking know. All right. So these are very simple and easy tips that you could use so that when you do go on vacation, or you go on a little sabbatical, or you go somewhere where you're having some fun with some friends, you can still make sure that you stick to your goals, and you can still make sure that you stick to your plan. All right. No reason to go haywire when you're well prepared. That's it. That's all I have to say. Andrew, take it away for the people. Talk to y'all later.
Thank you, Mr. Nsima Pants. What up, podcast? Recording unlive from Lake Tahoe. Mark and Andy Bell let me and my family stay at their Tahoe house, and it's freaking incredible, and I can't thank them enough. And apologies to you guys if my voice sounds a little bit too stuffy. Apparently, I'm allergic to literally everything out here. No, it's not that bad, but I am very stuffy and having a hard time sleeping because my nose is like at full blockage. But I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. I just want to add a couple of things that I'm doing while I'm out here. Mark and Nsima already gave you all the gold gems. Gold gems? All the gems that, gold nuggets, there you go. That you'll need, but I'll just give you what I'm doing from, my experience out here while I am on vacation for 4 full days, and there's plenty of opportunities out here to really go haywire and go off plan. Out here in Lake Tahoe, there's all these like ski lodges and all these just everywhere you turn there's another incredible, amazing restaurant that has been voted the world's best this and that, or like these gigantic waffles the size of your head, and it's all yummy good food, but I don't want to go off plan and kind of lose some of this momentum that I got going on right now. So what we did was I loaded up an ice chest full of Piedmontese beef, just a bunch of the Nebraska cut ribeyes, a bunch of flat irons. But because we're on vacation, we're going to, kind of have a little celebration tonight, just hanging out with the family. And we're going to cook up 2 tomahawk ribeyes, just big old steaks, so I'm really looking forward to that. On top of that, I packed some Eat Right foods. Hopefully this bee doesn't sting me. Some Eat Right foods. Oh my gosh, it's really on me. So also, if you guys hear any power bears in the background, it's not a power lifter, it's an actual bear. So where was I before this bee came and started attacking me? Or if I start screaming, you guys know I got stung. But anyway, Eat Right foods, I have those in the fridge as just like a fail safe. If I need something to eat quick and easy, I can just load those up in the microwave and be good to go. On top of that, as soon as we got here, I went to Whole Foods. Not a fan of Whole Foods because of how expensive it is, but it was just the only place I could find that wasn't jam-packed and just happened to be close by. So went there and just got me and my daughter a bunch of like watermelon, got my son some bananas. He's been eating crushed up bananas. He just turned 6 months, so we're kind of celebrating that as well. So I got us just a bunch of fruit, a bunch of water, a bunch of things that just aren't going to go against the plan. Things that you can just grab and go. Nothing like, I didn't want to grab like bags of chips and all these snacks and all these fun foods that you want to have on vacation, right? Just completely avoided it altogether. So that's what I did as far as like kind of prepping and planning and getting things right for the house here. But let's see, 2 days ago, we ended up hanging out at the beach, and it was a fun day. Had a blast. Of course, there's like drinks everywhere. Didn't have any of that. I don't remember. No, so that day we did eat breakfast. I just made eggs and ground beef, from Piedmontese ground beef. It was delicious. That's what I ate. And then, so we didn't end up eating till later that afternoon after hanging out at the beach all day. And we found ourselves just at Five Guys. It was just something that we needed to grab quick food and just go because, our little guy was getting really fussy at that point. And we had met up with some friends and they needed to eat because they had to leave. So we ended up just going to Five Guys. And all I got was just a bunch of hamburger patties and cheese, and that was it. And it was funny because the girl at the register was like, "Oh, are you on keto?" And I just kind of laughed, and I was like, "No, not really. Just trying to, get the protein up and try to keep the carbs down today. That's all. Nothing special." But it was just there's a chipmunk that just walked up to me. It was nothing special. Five Guys. It's like, dude, all these amazing restaurants, and you go to Five Guys. It was just something that we needed that was quick. And on top of that, there's restaurants like that all over the place. Fast food places like that where you can make a really easy decision to avoid, just excess energy, we'll call it. All these carbs that you don't necessarily need. Like I said, it was just super easy. Yesterday, though, we did indulge in one of those places that I had mentioned that has just a bunch of, really yummy food, but I just fasted into it. So I didn't eat till about like 1 p.m. and all I got was some French toast and a big ass omelet full of ground beef and like some vegetables and nothing else. And that's what I ate. And it was a lot. I wouldn't say that was necessarily on plan, but I tried to navigate it as best I could because there was this place that we wanted to go to that my brother-in-law recommended that we go. So we wanted to check it out since we are, quote, on vacation. So I didn't want to take all the fun away from the family. Anyway, it was good, right? It was fine. It was fun. But then after we walked for like 2-3 hours nonstop, I had an 18-pound weight vest. My son had him in one of those baby Bjorns. And we walked around all downtown Tahoe, or I don't know if it's called downtown, but it's where they have all the shops and stuff. And we walked for, it had to have been 3 hours. We were there all day. And my traps are still sore from that carrying that baby all day long. But that's what we did. And then we got home and ended up cooking up 2 more steaks for myself, flat irons for my wife and my daughter. And that was that. So, like I said, Mark and Nsima already gave you all the gems. This is just how I've been, kind of navigating being away from the house, and having all these temptations all around me is by just, prepping, by loading up this fridge right here full of Piedmontese steaks and full of Eat Right foods. And on top of that, Mark has all kinds of awesome things inside the cabinets. He has tasty pastries here. He has some Quest bars. So there's just a lot of options to make sure that I don't, screw things up and go way off plan. Because lately I've just been really, 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 really ratcheting up my protein intake. Sort of not necessarily a challenge for Mark, but he's just like, hey, like, you can have just a ton of protein and I promise you the scale's not going to go up. You're just going to get more shredded. And I am seeing some pretty good progress right now. And I don't want to screw things up by, saying I'm on vacation and then come back, next week, probably being flat and flabby again. Like, no, I don't want to do that. So wherever you are, hopefully, you got some good tips from us, especially if you are planning on heading out on, ooh, that was loud, heading out on vacation soon. Maybe you can, kind of load up, some good options instead of just kind of going with the flow and going off plan. But yeah, that's it for me. Hopefully everyone signed off correctly. But again, thank you to Piedmontese for sponsoring this episode. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes. Promo code Power Project for 25% off your order. Please follow the podcast at Mark Bell's Power Project on Instagram, at MB Power Project on TikTok and Twitter. My Instagram and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z. Let's see here. Nsima is at Nsima Inyang on Instagram, at Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark is at Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Peace.